Thank you so much for coming back, Mr. Singh. Could we discuss your time at the IMF a little more in detail? What were some of the challenges you faced? Is there any project which you believe has significantly impacted your career?
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to talk about it. As you know, the IMF is one of many international institutions. The IMF focuses on macroeconomic policy and financial policy, and it does what is called surveillance. You may wonder what is surveillance. Surveillance is to write reports every year on every country, trying to see if their policies are consistent with stability, financial stability, growth, and so on. So, what the IMF does is two kinds of things, or three kinds of things. One is they do surveillance on countries every year, and you have to plan what is going to be important, say, for India over the next 12 months. Probably it's the GST, probably it is doing business in India. So the IMF might focus on these issues as a background to its annual discussions with India. That's what's called surveillance. Separately, IMF staff do papers on topics not linked to specific countries. They might write about financial stability, they might write about tax policy, they may write about balance of payments, debt restructuring. That's the second. And then there are then the IMF lends to countries when they have a crisis. And that is somewhat linked to what I've said, but when you lend to a country, it becomes a little bit more complicated. So, this tells you what the IMF does. It writes about countries, does annual surveillance, how's the country doing, and then when it's asked to lend, they have to prepare the documentation, what is conditionality, what does the country have to do to get the money from the IMF, and so on. So, very briefly, what I want to say is, therefore, you have to be good at three things, right? You must firstly be a good macroeconomist. That's not important for the World Bank. The World Bank is a much broader spectrum of issues. But the IMF is a small institution. It's probably one-fifth the size of the World Bank. And it focuses on macro policies. So you must be focusing in your career, in your education, in your colleges, in your papers on macroeconomics and financial economics. That's one. Second, obviously the IMF is an international organization. There are lots of people you work with from all parts of the world. You've got to work with people. That's not a problem for you all because in India it's equally difficult or equally good to work with people from all over India. The third, which is more interesting, is you have to work with country authorities. So when you go to India or to Philippines or Argentina, it's very important how you discuss with the country authorities. You should not give the impression that you know it all. That's very important how you deal with country officials. And the fourth is you have constantly to deal with the media. Many years ago, the IMF used to be a very closed institution that did not speak to the press very much. Now they have to. So you have to be a person who can be a good economist, because that's the basic trademark. You've got to be able to deal with people who work with you, deal with country officials. Don't make it appear that you know everything, which you don't anyway. And then you have to talk to the media. So if you talk to the media, you must say what is right, but you say it carefully. Don't criticize the country. Don't say India isn't doing well because ABC. You've got to find a way to give an independent, authoritative assessment without putting blame on people or countries. So it is a mix. Now the IMF is not special in that way. Anywhere you work, you have to deal with people, you have to deal with customers, you have to deal with clients. And the more interesting part, but more complicated parts, is dealing with the media. Talking to the media, whether it's TV, whether it is writing for the press. That is an important part of your job too. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. Also, as director of the Asia Pacific region at the IMF, what were some of your duties?
Well, you see, the IMF deals with policy issues and countries. So, Asia in the IMF is all of Asia from India to Australia. So, there are probably 34 countries, all the islands in the Pacific, 34, 35 countries. So, as director, I have to be in charge of all the work the IMF does in all of Asia, whether it is Japan or India or Korea. And there needs to be some degree of consistency, but it must be different country by country. So essentially, you are managing the role of the IMF across Asia.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singh.
Okay,
Thank you again.
thank you.
If you have any suggestions or questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and SoundCloud.